We have time for a couple more questions. Yes.
Thank you. My question is similar to Father Kevin's, but it's in the lay sphere. Hardly a week goes by as a director of religious education myself. People present themselves sometimes in my office and attempt to justify themselves. To my surprise, one of my CCD teachers came to me and we're having a conversation. In the middle of the conversation, well, I have used contraception for the past 5 years, but in my previous parish, I was told there really wasn't a problem with that. And then she continued on with her lesson plan. I was kind of stunned. And I guess my question is this. There was a lot of half-educated Catholics around. People, well, they might subscribe to you as Catholic. They might have gone to a couple of bizarre workshops. And so they have kind of a distorted, half-educated view. There's a woman in my parish who has a degree in canon law and considers herself the equal of any person with any kind of degree, and has her own opinions on everything, including Humanae Vitae. And of course, the kernel is, well, it's non-infallible teaching. Okay, this distinction between fallible and non-infallible is used to justify dissent, if you will. Now, Father Connolly used the term, it is definitive, and that's what the dissenting priest had to adhere to. But for us as laity, how can we support the teaching of not only Humanae Vitae, but other definitive teachings of the Church when we're dealing with this infallible and non-infallible distinction?
But as I mentioned in my talk, in a sense, one can say that it is of no practical significance whatsoever, whether the teaching of the encyclical is infallible or quote-unquote only authoritative. With charity, with love, with understanding and compassion, because these people have been misled, direct them to the council documents, particularly the one Lumen Gentium, okay, 25. Turn them right to the section, Lumen Gentium 25. Have them read it, where it says, loyal submission of the will and intellect must be given in a special way to the authentic teaching authority of the Roman Pontiff, even when he does not speak ex cathedra, that his supreme teaching authority acknowledges with respect and sincere assent be given to decisions made by him. That's the teaching of the Second Vatican Council. I do quite a bit of public speaking. I have often thrown out the challenge. I've done it on the airwaves, on St. Charles Forum. I'm the moderator, so it goes in, not 38 million people watch it, but it does go to 38 million at home. I have thrown out the challenge that I will give anyone $500. Remember, I'm a seminary professor with 9 children. So I feel pretty secure about this challenge. I said, I will give anyone $500 who can find in the documents of the Second Vatican Council anything that would support the kind of dissent that has arisen up around Humanae Vitae over the last 25 years. You can't do it. They're not there. So just, as I say, refer them back to the documents and they won't have a leg to stand on, and then try to live the truth yourself and do it charitably.
I just wanted to add a response that a friend of mine came up with recently when she attended a conference of feminists. And she was sitting in a workshop, and the speaker said, well, I know what the Church teaches on homosexuality, but any act done lovingly is okay. And then 2 of the people that were running the conference stood up in the classroom and said, yes, remember that morality is not infallible. And this woman turned to everybody and she said, what about the 10 Commandments? They've never been called infallible teaching. And a few people said, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot about this. So maybe by going back to some of the basics of stirring people up, remembering the 10 Commandments may be helpful.
Okay, all right, we have 2 questions, and then that will be the end. Yes.
Dr. Haskell will address this one. We understand here that this is the teaching of the Church, and this is what we believe it wouldn't read here. But how are the seminarians being formed in St. Charles and other seminaries to address marriage preparation and that aspect of marriage preparation for NFP My fear is, in 10 years, this will continue to be a divisive issue, and then we will have two Catholic churches in America. We'll have the Roman Catholic Church in America, and we will have the American Catholic Church if we keep going the path we're going.
The good news is that there are a number of seminaries who are absolutely faithful on this score, and the numbers are growing, and the numbers of seminaries attending those seminaries is growing. St. Charles is now, I think, maybe some of the Mount St. Mary's may challenge me. I think it's the largest. I think it's the largest. I'm not going to say it's the best, although I believe it. But I'll say I think it's the largest with 260 seminarians. How many are at the Mount?
In comparison to include the undergraduates that go to St. Charles, because it's mostly just graduates of Mount St. Mary's.
Well,
It's a comparable number.
okay, but in any event, St. Charles and Mount St. Mary's have the highest attendance, enrollment of any seminary in the country, and they're both faithful. St. Joseph's of Dunwoody, the Archdiocese of New York, is faithful. Holy Apostles of Cromwell is faithful. Really, there are a number which are, and I find one of the things that's happening is this period of timidity and reluctance to teach has finally been overcome, and we are turning out really significant numbers of incredibly bright, articulate, well-educated men going into the priesthood, now going out into the dioceses, and are being leavened within the lump, and no one uses these men better than the lairds. So, I mean, a lot of great things are going on. I just want to encourage you about this. Frankly, I think the future looks pretty hopeful. Bishop Vaughn at one time said, the auxiliary bishop of New York, that he doesn't think there's ever been a better time to teach Humanae Vitae than right now, because the devastating consequences of living a life contrary to Humanae Vitae have played themselves out. And so we really are able to look to those disastrous consequences and appealing to the truth.
Well, thank you. You give me hope for the future.
Father Cusick is a product of one of these. He's been ordained for approximately 2 years. He and his classmates sort of get together and keep track of things. But there definitely is hope. We see the products of St. Charles and Mount St. Mary's in Arlington. Priests that hit the road running, don't want to wait until they're pastor before they voice an opinion on everything, and basically keep going until told to stop. And they're basically not being told to stop, and they're producing wonderful Catholics within their parishes and programs.